Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Obsessive Compulsive Gaming. I am the Obsessive Compulsive Gamer, and this is my review for Post-Trauma. So dear viewers, just like that beautiful bearded bastard Barry Bertrum, you're probably wondering,
what is this? What is it? What is this?
Post-Trauma is one of those psychological horror game type thingies that released earlier this year, heavily inspired by such games as Silent Hill and of course Resident Evil. But can it live up to either of those franchises? Well, let's review this survival horror video game the only way I know how. Badly. And let's talk about what I liked about the video game. Firstly, it is quite impressive what the developer of this game was able to do with very, very small amounts of money. The art style, the creature design, the locations, all of it is pretty not bad. And I am glad to see another third-person survival horror game in my landscape. It's a genre that I usually enjoy very much so having an indie entry in this particular subgenre of horror is very much appreciated. And the game does have some nice, moody music from a composer whose tracks I have actually personally used myself in the past. Go figure, eh? The game also, thankfully, won't cost you 4 sets of arms, 2 eyeballs, a nutsack and/or a pair of breasts to buy. This being an indie title, it is appropriately priced on the PlayStation Store. So if you can pick this game up on sale, make sure it's a deeper than the deepest ocean sale, but yes, pick the bloody thing up. And the hesitation in my voice in the last few seconds there leads me rather nicely on to discussing what I didn't like about this game. And boy, oh boy, was I incredibly bored for the 3 or so hours it took me to finish this game. This is another of those survival horror games which is incredibly light on the story, but very heavy on the puzzle solving. Not only that, but the puzzles in this game are, well, they reminded me of playing the original Silent Hill all the way back in the PlayStation 1 days. And all I have to say to you is the bloody piano puzzle in the school, and you'll probably have some idea about how the puzzles in this game are. Incredibly difficult at times, vague, you'll spend a hell of a long time looking for bloody clues to the things instead of fighting monsters, which for me is always one of the benefits of playing a survival horror game. Speaking of the monsters, this game does have a very distinct lack of action, something which you'll often find being the highlight of a lot of the Resident Evil titles, even the more horror-focused ones like Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil 4. They all had amazing moments of suspense and action to go along with the horror. Post-Trauma sadly doesn't have any of that. It's a very dull, monotone, gloomy kind of affair, and I'm in absolutely no doubt that that's what the game developers were going for, but I like my survival horror games nowadays to be more like Resident Evil 2 Remake, or the Dead Space Remake, or even, dare I say, the Silent Hill 2 Remake. A lot of remakes. What all of those games have that sadly Post-Trauma does not, apart from actual budgets, but I'm not going to hold that against an indie title. No, what they have is they are actually enjoyable to play. And sadly, though I was able to complete Post-Trauma, would I ever play this game again? No. And why, you might ask? Because it's not any bloody fun, that's why. Yes, there is 3 boss fights, but for me these all boil down to just dodging out of the way of the bastards and just shooting them 3 times with a shotgun. Well, most of them. The final boss is another bloody puzzle-filled affair, which was more frustrating than anything else. If you want to see what I'm talking about, go and check out my full playthrough of the game, which is on the channel right now, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So, all in all, while I admire the fact that we have another third-person horror affair, the game's voice acting sucked. They clearly didn't have a lot of money to make this game. There isn't a lot of characters to get attached to. The story is complete mumbo-jumbo psychological nonsense that we've seen a million times before, and done better a million times before. So while if you're a fan of Silent Hill or Silent Hill 2 or maybe some of the very, very, very early Resident Evil titles, you might get some enjoyment out of this game, I myself did not. Therefore, I declare that post-trauma was just dull for me. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, my review for Post-Trauma. If you enjoyed this little review of mine, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. If you haven't enjoyed it, well then feel free to give me a thumbs down. But please remember the single most important thing I always tell you, dear viewer, and that is to always stay obsessed with gaming. Are you still here? Oh, you must have really enjoyed this video then. In that case, you had better subscribe to the channel and check out our other content. Otherwise, you're a booby pants, and no one wants to be a booby pants.